History isn't just being written anymore, it's being rewritten in real time. It's dying. Or at the very least, it's changing into something fundamentally different from the fixed record I was taught in school. In the old world, if you wanted to change history, you had to burn libraries. You had to topple statues. It was loud, it was chaotic, and it was obvious. But in the 21st century, the library isn't burning. It's just being rearranged while you sleep. The politics of truth used to be about what was said, but now it's about what is shown. And I've heard it called a number of times the algorithmic lens of history. Think of the algorithm as a digital gerrymanderer. It doesn't just give you what you want, it draws a border around your reality. If you believe the world is falling apart, the machine will provide 24/7 evidence to support that. If you believe that everything is fine, it will hide the cracks. We've lost the common square. When we can't agree on what happened 5 minutes ago because our feed showed us different realities, how can we ever agree on what happened 50 years ago? History is being fragmented into my truth and your truth, leaving the truth orphaned somewhere in the middle. And we don't even have to go back 50 years. Let's go back just 6 years to 2020.
On January 21st, 2020, the U.S. reported its first known case of coronavirus circulating in China, later known as COVID-19. A man from Washington State who just returned from Wuhan, hospitalized near Seattle.
For some, the history of the COVID-19 pandemic is a collective memory of scientific triumph and communal sacrifice. For others, it is a dark narrative of state overreach and the suppression of dissent. Because we lived through all of the lockdowns through personalized digital echo chambers, the facts of the virus and the pandemic were instantly sorted by the algorithm into two different realities. We didn't just disagree on policy. We began to remember two different versions of the timeline itself. Today, depending on which digital bubble you inhabit, 2020 is either the year the world came together or the year the common square was finally dismantled. And then there's the technology.
Generative AI. Deepfakes.
It's not just that we can make a politician or a celebrity say whatever we want. That's amateur hour. The real danger is what experts call the liar's dividend. In a world where anything could be fake, the powerful can simply claim that anything real is a fabrication. Found a video of a war crime? That's an AI-generated deepfake. Found a document proving corruption or even worse? It's a hallucination. The tech doesn't just spread lies, it destroys our ability to believe the truth when we see it. The ultimate weapon is not a grand lie, but the suffocating fog of doubt. When every claim is met with a weary shrug of who knows, the powerful win by default. It creates a state of cynical apathy. And when a population is too tired to figure out what's real, they stop caring about what's true. This isn't theory, it's a strategy. Let's look at three lenses in action. One that builds a myth, one that deletes a tragedy, and one that impacts nearly every person on the planet. February 2022. The world watches as Russia invades Ukraine. And out of the smoke, a savior is born. The ghost of Kyiv. An ace pilot with 6 kills in a single day. The internet doesn't just share the story, it combusts. Millions of screens flicker with the same impossible footage. Ukrainian pride soars, people around the world cheer for the ghost of Kyiv. There's just one problem. It wasn't completely real. The footage was mostly pulled from video games. But even when the mask was stripped away and the myth debunked, the legend refused to die. Why? Because the algorithm has no use for accuracy. It only craves resonance. We hungered for a hero, so the machine manufactured one. In this century, if a lie feels true, it becomes the truth. Myths are just the beginning. The real danger is personified by the memory hole of 2009. In Xinjiang, China, the state didn't just filter the internet, they executed it. For 10 months, 22 million people were cast into a digital vacuum. In July of 2009, following ethnic violence in the Chinese province of Xinjiang's regional capital of Urumqi, the Chinese government didn't just censor keywords, they unplugged the entire region. For 10 months, internet access, international long-distance calling, and even SMS messaging were cut off for nearly 22 million people. During this black hole, the digital narrative was completely seized. When the internet was finally restored in May 2010, the history of those months had been scrubbed and replaced with state-approved versions. Local websites were gone, social media was sanitized, and the common square was rebuilt with permanent checkpoints, both physical and digital. This is the architecture of silence in its purest form. It proves that a modern state doesn't need to change your mind if they can simply delete the data that would allow you to make it up for yourself. But you don't need a total blackout to erase history. Sometimes, you just need a shadow. In 2024 and 2025, human rights investigators documented what they called systemic censorship across Meta's platforms of Facebook and Instagram. During the conflict in Gaza, tens of thousands of peaceful posts, documentary footage, and historical testimonies were algorithmically suppressed or downranked. It wasn't a total deletion. It was a hiding in plain sight. Meta called it over-enforcement or technical errors, but the result was a massive global distortion of the record. Human rights investigators documented that this systemic censorship extended beyond simple removal. The machine employed shadowbanning, where users would shout into a digital void, unaware that their reach had been throttled to near zero. By treating documentation of the conflict as a violation of dangerous organizations and individuals' policies, the platforms effectively scrubbed the primary source history of an entire region in real time. And when the algorithm decides what is newsworthy and what is harmful, it isn't just following a policy, it is choosing which tragedies we are allowed to remember and which ones must be relegated to the digital margins. When the largest archive of human activity on the planet, Meta, decides that certain words like genocide or democracy are social issues that need to be suppressed, they aren't just moderating content. They are pruning the branches of history before they can even grow. The Ghost of Kyiv shows us how easily we can accept a beautiful lie because we need a hero. The Blackout in Xinjiang proves how easily a state can delete reality when it owns the pipes. And the shadowbanning at Meta, well, that just reveals how a painful truth can be quietly suffocated by the very machines designed to connect us. History is a tool we use to build the future. It's the lens we look through. But if your history is being live edited by an algorithm that's designed for engagement rather than accuracy, whose future are you actually building? If you don't constantly choose your lenses, someone else will install one for you. And by the time you realize you're blind, the lights will already be out.